Our next contestant is Robyn Herbert. Her title is Age as a Potential Moderator in the Relationship Between Executive Dysfunction and ADHD Symptom Severity, a cross-sectional study.
Thank you. All right. Good morning. So attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which is more commonly known as ADHD, is a neurodevelopmental disorder that's a bit unique because only about 60% of individuals who meet criteria for the disorder in childhood will grow up to continue to meet criteria for the disorder in adulthood. And further, impairments that are correlated with ADHD, such as academic underachievement and impairment in social relationships, likely stem, at least in part, from deficits in executive functioning. So executive functions are sometimes referred to as those frontal lobe functions, and they're our ability to regulate our emotions, our thoughts, and our behaviors. So for this study, I wanted to understand how the relationship between executive dysfunction and ADHD symptom severity changed as a factor of age. So we had two groups of participants in our study. Both were parents. The first group had children ages 18 to 22 years old, and the second group of parents had children ages 9 to 12 years old. We had both groups of parents rate their child's executive functions using a measure called the brief, and then we also had the parents rate their child's ADHD symptom severity using measures called the Vanderbilt and the Barclays. And what we found was that parents of young adults endorse significantly fewer symptoms of ADHD than parents of children, and that lends to the idea that symptoms of ADHD decrease with age. Further, all 9 domains of executive dysfunction that we examined were highly correlated with inattention, hyperactivity, impulsivity, and the ADHD symptom severity total. More specifically, 3 of these domains, set shifting, which is the ability to be doing a task and then stop and start doing another task fairly rapidly, emotional control, which is wanting to cry or scream or kick or yell, realizing that the situation is inappropriate for that and being able to inhibit yourself from doing that. And finally, task initiation, which is remembering that you have to start a task and then actually starting it. Young adults who had difficulty in these 3 areas had significantly more severe symptoms of ADHD than young adults who did not struggle in these same 3 areas. And so this research lends to future research in terms of intervention, in that children who have symptoms of ADHD should be encouraged to develop coping strategies for these 3 areas specifically, in the hopes that when they grow up, their symptoms of ADHD will not be as severe. And further, young adults who are struggling with fairly severe symptoms of ADHD, their intervention should not only focus on symptoms of inattention, symptoms of hyperactivity, impulsivity, but should focus on coping strategies for set shifting, for emotional control, and for task initiation in the hopes of ameliorating some of their more severe symptoms. Thank you.